These are dark times, there is no denying. Our world has perhaps faced no greater threat than it does today. But I say this to our citizenry. We, ever your servants, will continue to defend your liberty and repel the forces that seek to take it from you.
You're listening to The Stephen Torriello Show, building a platform of liberty for people in search of truth with a dash of hope and a life worth living. The Stephen Torriello Show. And now, here's Stephen.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the show. As always, thank you for tuning in. Donald Trump was in Iowa I think either yesterday or today, whenever you're going to listen to this. Donald Trump was in Iowa. That's why they say don't give dates on the, that's why they say don't give dates on the show. You'll hardly hear any podcaster give the actual date unless they're doing a live show, but they say not to give dates, but apparently, but that's why they do it. It's just some inside baseball. So Donald Trump was in Iowa, and for the first time that I can recall, he actually took questions from a crowd. Now, this wasn't one of those huge rallies that he normally has. It seems like it's pretty small, but a lot of people. I'm sure the stadium was jam-packed. It seemed like a smaller crowd, and he actually took questions from the crowd, which was the first time I've ever seen him do this. And this reminded me of Donald Trump back in 2015. The old school, raw, likable, personable Donald Trump that just spoke like a regular person. And it was actually what made Donald Trump so likable by so many people, was he didn't get up there and spoon feed people a bunch of political BS. He just went up there and he told people how it was. And I think that's exactly what attracted people to Donald Trump, was his ability, or his common man feature. When he speaks to people, he speaks like a common man, not a billionaire, not a former president, not a politician. And up until this rally, I'd never seen it. And this was the lackluster missing from Donald Trump since he started his campaign. Now, a lot of his campaign has been boosted by his indictments, but Donald Trump was missing this key feature. The common man, down in the crowd, down in the pits with the people, like a middle-class, average working American. That is Donald Trump's strength. And because he is. And I'm going to play you some audio where it proves my point. And I want to make a couple injectures, and I want to make a couple points throughout the audio. But they're real short clips. Maybe one is 3 minutes, maybe the other one's like 4 minutes. But there are questions from the crowd that he took, and I've never seen him take questions from the crowd before. So whatever his campaign is doing, keep it up. And Donald Trump, if by some wild chance you get to hear this, keep it up, man. Keep it up. This is you. This is what the American people like in you. And you have a connection with the American people that maybe you understand, maybe you don't, but it is definitely something. It is something I've never experienced in my lifetime, this movement, and it goes a lot further than just Donald Trump. I think a lot of these people confuse Trump supporters for like Trump worshipers, and though there are some people that worship Donald Trump, that treat Trump like some kind of god, but for the most part, it is just regular, average American people that hate to see what's happening to their country. Every single Trump supporter you talk to will say they love this country. Most of them are patriots. Most of their families buried in Arlington Cemetery. A lot of these people in the MAGA movement all share the same common value, and that is God. They are God-fearing people, and they love this country. They're patriots. And like I said, a lot of their family has spilled blood for this country for many, many generations. And so this is the difference between the left and the right. I want to go ahead and play the audio and go ahead and just give my pointers on it. The reason why is I want you to hear it. It's important for you to hear. So here we go with the first question for Donald Trump from Iowa.
Please.
Welcome to Iowa, President Trump.
Thank you very much.
Here's my question. I felt that the 2020 election was fraudulent. So what measures are being taken by the RNC to make sure that that doesn't happen again?
Okay, well, you're not the only one, because if you look at polls, many people, big percentage of the country felt it was, they used COVID to cheat, but they would have cheated anyway. Many precautions, many law firms have been hired, a lot of work has been done, and beyond RNC, I mean, I wasn't very thrilled with them, obviously. I was always told you go out, you campaign. I left here early in the morning and you go home and you think you've done great. I actually made 7 rallies on the last day or two. 7. I don't know anybody's going to do 7 rallies, and they're big rallies, and they were full-scale rallies. And I left and I said, we're going to win. And at 10 o'clock in the evening, I looked at the numbers and it was over. We were doing so well. Pennsylvania, all these states were doing so well. Then all of a sudden they made adjustments and all this crap, and it was a horrible thing. So they were able to do things with COVID. Oh, we can't go vote. We can't this. We can't that. Mail-in voting. We have a lot of great people involved. That's more than anything else. I say, I don't want help in getting the vote. I only want help. It used to be called election day. Now it's called election period, because some of these things last for like 2 months, right? I said, that's all I want. I want people to work, because we went back and we did great. And then the vote comes in, and then it was looking great, and then all of a sudden this horrible thing happened. And by the way, it's all down. People know it. We had judges that didn't want to get involved. They were afraid. Everybody was afraid. They were afraid of the subject. It's a disgrace. What happened to our country is a total disgrace. Okay, disgrace. So, and look at the result. I mean, look at the result. I mean, practically every problem that we talked about today wouldn't have happened. Ukraine wouldn't have happened. Inflation wouldn't have happened. I mean, so many of these things that we talk about today, we wouldn't even be thinking about. Look at the supply chain. Who ever heard of a supply chain where people can't deliver? You couldn't get baby food. You couldn't get anything. The only thing you could get is all the drugs you wanted. You could get drugs. You could get cocaine. I wonder whose cocaine that was, by the way, in the White House.
We all know, folks. We all know.
What about that deal? Packages of cocaine. And they said, well, we don't know. No, we don't know. And then when they went for the fingerprint thing, everybody's there, fingerprints all, it was wiped clean. Not one fingerprint. Not one fingerprint, which is impossible. You can go to any place in this room, there's fingerprints all over the place, especially those cubicles. So we're going to be working very hard. That's my number one thing, much more so than campaigning, actually, is that they don't cheat on the election, because they will try, and they'll be successful to an extent. But we're not going to let them steal this election, because this country is going to fail. I'll tell you, I don't think the people of this country will allow it to happen either, because this country is on a very thin edge right now. Thank you very much for the question.
There's Donald Trump off the cuff, just like everybody likes him. And the reason why is because the man speaks the truth. He speaks no different than the way I would speak to you. He speaks no different than you and me speak. He talks just like the American people. He does not sound like a politician. This is his shining star. This is Donald Trump. This is what made him Donald Trump. This is what separates him from a Ron DeSantis and a Mike Pence and Chris Christie. The man is open and honest when he says things. And so for the lady's question in regards to the election, he's right. Donald Trump has the campaigning down. Donald Trump has the numbers. The election's there. The only thing he needs is for Democrats to not cheat. That is it. If Democrats don't cheat, then Donald Trump wins. That's the problem. Is just like he said, I don't want, I got the campaigning, I got the votes, I just need the elections to be secure. I just need election day to be election day and not election month, where Democrats can count ballots until they get the results they want. This was the problem in 2020, and he said it too. We've been saying this on the show for a long time. The problem was judges did not want to intervene. Judges do not want to insert themselves in an election. It doesn't look good, and for obvious reasons. And I think Democrats counted on that. Democrats counted on the fact that they knew judges weren't going to interject and make opinions or give or make rulings that would sway the election. Because think about it. Do you know what kind of pressure's on a judge where they have to decide if 300,000 ballots are null and void because they weren't verified, because they weren't legal ballots? No judge in the world's going to do that. None. I mean, maybe they would. I mean, the Supreme Court did it back in the Bush v. Gore election. So that's the problem. And just like Judge Clarence Thomas, just like the 3 Supreme Court judges said, we need to handle this now or we're going to be dealing with it down the road and it's going to cause a lot of damage. So for all the leftists out there that want to say that all these charges and all these challenges didn't have merit, that's not true. 3 judges wanted to take up the cases in the Supreme Court, but Judge Roberts did not. And so therefore, since he's chief judge, it didn't get handled. They kicked the can down the road. And another thing that Donald Trump said is, look at the results it gave us. And so in a way that these judges, these cowardice judges that didn't want to interject and do what they knew was the right thing to do, by stepping in and saying, look, you counted 50,000 ballots without Republican poll watchers. That's illegal. 50,000 ballots should be null and void. No judge wanted to do that. And so what happened? Those 50,000 ballots got counted, and it cost Donald Trump the election. And not just Donald Trump, but all of us the election. Because of these decisions these judges made, it created ripple effects throughout the entire timeline of this country for the last 4 years. And these ripple effects turned into tsunamis with the amount of damage. And this is why I always say on the show, this is what happens when the wrong candidate gets elected. The American people are not dumb. The American people knew who they wanted to vote for, and they knew Donald Trump would be better than Joe Biden. But because the Democrats intervened and injected fraud into our elections, this is the results that you get. So what you got was a massive sledgehammer to our country. What you got was an administration that came in and body slammed this country onto the ground. And now this country is got the wind knocked out of it, and it's gasping for air. People are not struggling. People are drowning right now. And so Donald Trump says that. And another thing that I find very unique with Donald Trump is, and it is unique to him if you pay attention to these other candidates, is whenever he talks about his administration, he always says we. You ever notice that? I never hear Donald Trump talking about I. He never says me. He always says we. And so when he says we, what he's talking about is all of us, because he looks at this movement as a movement. He doesn't, and he'll even use Donald Trump in third person, which is crazy. He'll use himself as third person. He does not consider himself this godlike figure of the MAGA movement. He sees himself as the leader, and he is the leader. The people voted him to be their leader. But regardless, with Trump or without Trump, this is a movement, and it is a cohesive movement. It is very unified. The people in this movement know exactly what they want, and they know that what they're seeing right now is not the right thing. And just like Donald Trump said, that election, look at the destruction that election brought this country. All the things that have happened right now would not be happening. And in fact, this country would probably be more prosperous now, because the first 4 years was just getting this country on track. And then another term of Donald Trump would have been nothing but prosperity and winning. Because what he did was he lined his ducks in a row to where everything was doing great. You know it. You felt it. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Everybody's money was going further. The inflation was low. Groceries were cheap. Gas prices were cheap. Interest rates were low. The American people were prospering under the 4 years of Donald Trump. So if not for the constant kneecaps by the Democrat Party, another term of Donald Trump would have been very, very beneficial for the American people. Very beneficial. And so he's right when he says that because these judges did not make these calls, because these judges didn't want to get involved, it caused the destruction of this country. Folks, this country is dying because All this was done in the 2.5 years that the Democrats cheated in the 2020 election and brought all this damage onto the American people. So because these people were so selfish, so self-righteous, that they wanted to defeat Trump at all costs, even if that meant destroying our democracy, destroying our elections, destroying the trust and credibility in our government institutions and intel agencies. They did it. They did it, and this is the result. So the Democrats gave us the double whammy. So the wake of destruction that they created just to defeat Donald Trump, those wakes turned into tsunamis of destruction because of the Biden administration coming in and causing all these problems. The American people are really starting to see what's going on here. They are catching on to this. This is why Donald Trump's poll numbers are going up, and this is why Joe Biden's approval rating is going down. I'm a firm believer in this, that Donald Trump would have won the 2020 election if not for the shenanigans from the Democrats. The unconstitutional law changes weeks and months before the election, mass mail-in ballots, drop boxes in strategic locations in blue areas, no signature verification, and then weeks and weeks of counting. This is what you get. There is something about Donald Trump, and I'm going to say that it was created by the media. The media created this level of hatred for Donald Trump that we've never experienced in this country. Some people compare it to the McCarthyism, to the McCarthy era, where, with the anti-communism, everybody was a communist. And the media drove this level of hatred and drove this narrative so hard that it just really, really damaged the mindsets of the American people. It set a really bad tone in the mindset of the Americans. And it's just really unfortunate. And this is why I like the Donald Trump, the 2015 Donald Trump. This guy was not reading off a teleprompter. This guy was off the cuff, as raw as it gets, answering questions from the crowd, random people. You could tell he's picking random people from the crowd if you watch the video. This is the Trump that I like to see, and I hope we get to see more of it. Because everything he said in that question was spot on. Supply chain issues, every single thing that we are experiencing today wouldn't have happened if Donald Trump was not cheated out of that election. If the Democrats did not cheat in the 2020 election. There it is. That was it. That's the butterfly effect. Ripples turned into waves, waves turned into tsunamis, and here we are. And just like he said too, is they're going to try it again. They're certainly going to try it again. I've been saying this on the show too. But the key is they can only cheat so much. A lot of people can say, the Democrats are just going to cheat again. I get why you feel that way. I felt the same way after the 2020 election. But you have to remember that election was close with all the cheating that they did. So they almost didn't win. They won by 42,000 votes with all the cheating they could muster. And they had COVID. They're not going to have that now. They're going to try. They're going to try, but the American people are smart. I say this all the time. The American people are smart. They may be panicky. Half of this country may be gullible, but as a whole, the American people are smart. They always manage to take this country off the brink of destruction and get it back on track. Winston Churchill said that was one of the greatest things that he can think of the United States, that in the precipice, do the American people find the will to pull this country back on track? And that was, I'm paraphrasing, but in a nutshell, that's what he said. And so what they're going to try something. They're going to try to cheat somehow, some way. But I don't think it's going to be COVID because the American people are onto it. So what I think they're going to do is they're going to roll out somebody like Michelle Obama. And we've been saying this for weeks and months. I know Ted Cruz came out with a YouTube short, and he said this a few days ago. Folks, if you've listened to the show at any point in time, we've been saying this for months. I think they're going to pull a Michelle Obama out because they really have no other options. They don't have Kamala Harris. Joe Biden is off his rocker. You have the Washington Post pretty much, kneecapping Joe Biden, telling him that not to run. You have poll numbers showing Joe Biden's approval ratings, and these people are seeing internal polling. These people are freaking out. You have all the corruption coming out. You have the impeachment inquiry. You got Hunter Biden being indicted. All these things are going to roll up on Joe Biden, and it's going to roll up fast. Why? Because Joe Biden is a corrupt politician. That is why. Nothing more, nothing less. This is 50 years of his corrupt politics catching up to him, and all his shenanigans and his robbery of the American taxpayer. His robbery of this country has caught up to him. You know, they say karma's a bitch. This is live action karma, a real example of karma. So there was one more question Donald Trump took from the crowd, and this one is equally just important, a little bit longer, but just as important. Here, check this out.
I want to thank you, President, for all that you've done. A question I want to ask you is, I'm telling you, no man can endure what you have endured. Do you realize that God is behind you and strengthening you? Do you realize that?
Well, I appreciate what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, too. It's been a terrible thing in so many ways. The only thing, the great gratitude I get, I'm looking at polls now where we're 50 points, 60 points up, among all these people, and we're beating Biden in all these polls.
There you go. You hear it again? We're beating Biden. We're 50 points or 60 points ahead. This is what he does. And you'll notice this now that I showed you, you'll notice this every time he talks. This is a true indicator that this guy really is including everybody into this movement. He does not see himself as some godlike figure, how the Democrats accuse him of being. He honestly just feels as the leader of this movement that is going to go and get this country back for the American people. He really does mean he wants to save America. And so when he says we're, that's him saying that we are. He's speaking on behalf of the movement, and I think that is great. And I don't know if anyone's noticed it, but I thought it was important for me to point it out. So here we go, back to the... Sorry for my interruptions there. I just felt like it was necessary. So back to the audio. Here we go.
We're beating everybody, and we have had to endure. We endured a fake Russia thing for years. We endured all of this stuff, all fake. And think of how bad these people were. A guy like Adam Shifty Shifter, he's a real bad guy. I call him pencil neck. He's got the smallest neck I've ever seen. He's not going to be playing for your local teams, Iowa State. They're not going to be recruiting him to play football. But Adam Schiff, he makes up with Hillary and with the Democrats. They make up the Russia scam. He knows it's a scam. Think about how bad. I have sons and daughters. And, we love our sons and daughters, right? And I watch him on television one day. So he knows it's a hoax. Russia. Turned out to be a total hoax. No collusion. There was no anything. So he knows it's a hoax right in the middle. And he goes out to the microphones after leaving a meeting, which is supposed to be very, quiet. Nobody's supposed to know what goes on in there. He goes out to the microphone. He goes, the president's son, Donald Trump Jr., will go to prison for what he's done. Now, he knows it's a hoax. Think of it. It's not like I'm reading and seeing, and I watch this guy telling I'm watching him saying that my son is going to prison. My son is going to prison. And I know that he had nothing to do. There was nothing. The whole thing was made up. It was a made up story. You know why it was made up? It was an excuse why Hillary lost. They said, let's blame Russia.
Ding, 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 ding. I've been saying this from the beginning of this show. These people used Russia in order to influence the 2016 election. They did not plan on it going into the extent that it did. But because Barack Obama took over the reins, Barack Obama wanted to continue the hoax. This is all Barack Obama, and this is why I say you need to bring his ass in there under oath and get testimony from Barack Obama. What did he know about Russia collusion? Was he part of it? Was he the leader behind it? And get his ass to testify under oath. I think it's BS that this guy gets to ride off into the sunset after being a very unnoticeable president, other than his skin color, which nobody cares about anyways. The guy hasn't done anything notable for this country that anybody can remember, but yet somehow he caused the most damage to this country. So that will be Barack Obama's legacy. And look, I voted for him. You guys all know that I voted for Barack Obama. That will be his legacy. He will go down as one of the most destructive presidents this country has ever seen, by far. And I'm not talking about the corruption that he did. I'm talking about the long-standing damage. This guy has done generational damage to this country. It's going to take 60, 70 years to get back on track after Barack Obama. Decades. Because of the generational damage he did with the Department of Education, creating and installing all these bureaucrats into the Washington deep state swamp. All the government institutions and the FBI, all these people are loyal to the Obama doctrine. This is a third term of Obama is what this is. And so now he's installed all these ticks that are inside of our government. It's going to take forever to get these people out. But he created a mindset that essentially we're the government and we could do whatever we want and our agenda is the right agenda and we're going to push forward with it. And the ends justify the means. That is Obama. You guys remember, we're going to fundamentally change this country. I don't need Congress. I got a pen and I got a phone. This guy, his first term, not so bad. The second term is when he lost his mind. And he did all the damage that he did. And look, we can go into Barack Obama. I want to digress on that. But I'm just saying, look at what they did to this guy's family, man. Look at what they did to Donald Trump. This guy didn't deserve this. This guy didn't deserve the treatment from the American people that he got. What the hell did this guy do that was so bad? And then he's got to sit and watch a guy like Adam Schiff come out and say he's going to try and lock up his son for a hoax that they all created to influence and impact the 2016 election? To challenge the election, the same thing they're indicting him on now? These people tried to overthrow a duly elected president. They tried to reverse the results of the democratic process. They tried to unseat Donald Trump. And I don't know, insert Mike Pence and then go after Mike Pence. These people don't know what they're doing. They have no idea. All they know is they lost the election and they couldn't accept it. And they didn't accept it and they lost their damn minds. But unfortunately, instead of them just saying, okay, we'll get it next time, they completely ran roughshod over all the guardrails. They weaponized all the government institutions. And now what's happening is now they've taken it from just targeting Donald Trump to now they're targeting Donald Trump supporters, labeling them as domestic terrorists, even though there's 80 million people? Probably going to be like 90 million people now. What are they going to do? Come after the whole country? Were they going to come after 90 million people for voting for this guy? This guy didn't do anything wrong to warrant this type of behavior, to warrant this type of treatment. They act like the guy is truly Adolf Hitler or Pol Pot. There's no way, folks. There is no way. Nobody, and I mean nobody, I wouldn't even wish this on Joe Biden. I would not wish this on my worst enemy. To have to deal with the stuff that he's dealt with for the last 8 years, 9 years, talking about locking your kids up in prison, trying to lock you up in prison for the rest of your life. These people are sick. They are nuts. They are the cult. These people are in the cult they're always talking about Republicans being in. These people drank the Kool-Aid a long time ago. These people are off their rockers. You do not treat people like this. You do not treat Americans this way. Okay? Donald Trump did not do anything to deserve this. He got elected by the American people, fair and square. Even with the Democrats and the DNC cheating and coming up with Russia collusion hoaxes and spying on his campaign. The American people seen fit to elect Donald Trump because they thought he was a better leader. And he was. He gave this country the best years it's seen in decades. He gave the American people peace, and he gave the American people prosperity, a great economy, and that's all the American people ask for. Stay out of my wallet and stay out of my life. That is it. The American people don't ask for much. They're pretty tough and resilient. They can handle anything. They're very smart, very resilient, and very able to adapt to their situation. So to sit there and tell the American people, oh no, you elected the wrong guy, so we're going to get rid of him and we're going to get our own person in there, and if you don't like it, tough. This is what these people do, man. They're straight tyrannical. They have went nuts. So everything they accuse their opponents of doing, they themselves are doing. These people, we are in this situation right now with all the destruction, with all the broken constitutional norms, all the unprecedented investigations and impeachments and indictments now, all the radical stuff we're seeing today is all because, A, the Democrats could not accept the 2016 election, and B, because the Democrats could not allow a fair election in 2020. Yeah, there is no level of hatred in the world that would warrant this type of behavior for a U.S. citizen. None. Especially not a guy that did all that he did for this country. Like, look, I could see if the guy was like legit, like rounding people up and executing them in concentration camps. Like, yeah, I could see that. But what the hell? Giving the people cheap gas, drilling for oil, creating peace around the world? That's the key, ladies and gentlemen. It wasn't the American people that treated Donald Trump like this. It was the institutions. It was the administrative state, the deep state bureaucracy, and the corrupt Washington establishment and their media apparatus. Those two combined created the situation. Those two combined were going after Donald Trump. And the media brainwashed the people to support it because they used the hatred that they built up on Donald Trump to essentially justify what they were doing to Donald Trump. Well, guess what? 80 million Americans don't agree with it. We didn't like it from day one. From day one, the Russia collusion hoax was BS, and we thought that was too far. Man, if we would have knew then what we know now, what these people were willing to do in order to regain or take power, man, I think we would have done things a lot different. But he's right. He's right, man. The guy has endured a lot, and it's not warranted, and he doesn't deserve it. It is so freaking un-American to treat somebody this way, it's not even funny. All right, I want to go ahead and finish this up. There's a couple minutes left. Here, check this out.
And it was supposed to be a one-day deal, but the fake news wouldn't let it be one day. And the fake news carried it and on and on and on. We have the same thing right now. It's going on still. Do you know that if I got indicted, but because the people know me so well, they know it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. They know that. And think of it. They say he questioned the election. Well, everybody in this room questioned the election. The Democrats questioned 2016. They were all standing up. They were forming cards. They were forming all sorts of things.
Oh, yeah.
And those are the same guys that say it's so corrupt. Washington's a corrupt place. But think of it. You're watching some guy on television, a high-ranking congressman, say that your son is going to prison, and he knows that it was a hoax. I mean, how bad do you have to be to do that?
That's bad.
And then it gets, no collusion after 2.5 years. And then 2 weeks go by, and I had a little piece. I focused on China and other things. It's almost the easy subject, right? I focused on the easy things like China, Russia. And then they start with Ukraine. He made a phone call to Ukraine. It was a perfect phone call. That phone call turned out to be absolutely, nobody's ever seen anything. Everything I said was right. About please study, if there's any corruption, please report it to the Attorney General of the United States. It turned out to be exactly right. A lot of people are saying right now they've got to undo even the theory of those indictments because those indictments were fake, just like everything else. So we have to get back to making our country great again. But you're right. Many people ask me that question. They say, how do you do it? And I do it because I feel real love. And I feel real appreciation. And I do it because it's more important than anything else I could do. I could be living a very nice life in the most beautiful places all over the world. And here I am with you in Iowa, and I'd rather be here. I'd rather be here. So thank you very much. Very nice. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Yep. Imagine that, folks. So one of the impeachments, the Ukraine impeachment, was Donald Trump, your commander-in-chief, looking into the corruption in Ukraine that Joe Biden was involved in that we now know is true. Imagine that. So if these people wouldn't have impeached him, then they would have seen back then how corrupt Joe Biden was. And maybe we wouldn't even be here in this situation. But because the Democrats knew how corrupt Joe Biden was and knew how intertwined his family was in Ukraine and all these other countries around the world, they immediately impeached him like that, instantly. Just put a giant roadblock in that whole investigation. Your commander-in-chief was trying to look into the corruption between the Biden family and Ukraine, and the Democrats impeached him for it. Yeah, he's right. Those indictments, that impeachment should be expunged. And there are legal scholars that are saying that that impeachment needs to be expunged. And I think Elise Stefanik actually entered in a bill that would expunge the Ukraine impeachment. And then the second impeachment, the January 6th impeachment, that wasn't even real, folks. It took 2 weeks. There was no investigation, no vote, no nothing. 2 weeks in impeachment, completely one-sided. One-sided impeachment. I mean, the whole thing was just so Stalinist-like. It was like we're living in the Soviet Union. It's like we're living in the Soviet Union now with some of the stuff that we're seeing. It's like, my God, man, do these people, look at the difference this country, look at the difference in this country in just 2.5 years that these people have had power. I mean, every day it's shocking to me. I mean, every day I do this episode, I do research. I read the news all day. I live, breathe, and eat this stuff all day long. I'm into politics. I'm into news, world news, history, all of it. This is what I do, man. I work and I do this, and I hang out with my family. It's what I do. And the amount of damage that has been done is off the charts. Off the charts. And it's just so shocking to me how we're watching this happen right now. It's some of the stuff we're watching, it's like, that is what's so shocking to me. A lot of people will ask me, how does this stuff not drive you nuts thinking about, all the corruption in our politics and our government all the time? I'm like, it doesn't bother me because I know I'm doing the right thing by calling it out and talking and informing my fellow Americans with it. What bothers me is when other people aren't paying attention. I think I've said that before. It bothers me when other people just are kind of just going on with their everyday lives, not a worry in the world. And then what happens is come election time, when we are on the make or break of this country, they're not going to go vote, or they're going to go pull the lever for the destructors. They're going to go pull the lever for the arsonists. So this is what bothers me. So no, reading about it doesn't bother me. I inform myself. I've been doing it for years anyways. I was into this stuff a long, long time ago. It's just people need to get involved because we are watching unprecedented levels of destruction, and there's things that we can't even see yet because they're on the horizon, like the collapse of our currency. All these countries, the BRICS nations, in 10 years, folks, our currency may not be worth anything. We are talking Great Depression level stuff. And what's going to happen is the government, and they're probably going to do this anyways, the government's going to introduce a cryptocurrency, a government-backed cryptocurrency. It's going to be like anything, unlike anything you're going to feel like you are living in China. There's going to be a social credit score. They're going to be able to lock your bank accounts like they did to the truckers in Canada. They're going to be able to control what you buy, how much money you spend, where you're spending your money. They're going to be able to track every single move that you make. They're going to be able to tell you what house you can buy. Oh, well, you made a TikTok video about the deep state in Washington D.C. Oh yeah, we're going to take you down a couple notches on your social credit score, so you're not going to be able to get that loan for the furniture you want. I'm telling you, man, these people are off the chain communists. These people are deep down communists. That is what they are. In the end, if you really pay attention to what you want, and this is why I talk about it on the shows all the time, if you really pay attention to their tactics, to what they actually want when you listen to them, the universal basic income, they think everything should be free. They want open borders. They want to sexualize the children. They want to use the children to break up the nuclear family. All these things that they're doing have been done before in the past. And all of it has led to communism in one shape or another. All of it. It starts with some sort of authoritarian totalitarianism. It starts with some type of fascism. And then all of it ends up merging into one giant communistic state. And that is the direction these people are taking us because these people are idiots. They don't know history. And you'll notice a lot of these people don't know anything about anything. They don't know history. All they know is social justice warriors. All they know is they wake up and they say, how can I change the world today? Because their entire life, their teachers raised them to say, just go out there and change the world. Instead of saying, just go out there and be a good person. That is what happened. there was a, just like Yuri Bezmenov said, there was a generation of people that were told, instead of just growing up and just be a good person, they said, grow up and change the world. Yeah. And because the separation of church and state, these people they had nothing to worship. And so they were raised to worship government. They were raised to find a reason to give their life purpose. And that reason was the climate change. That reason was LGBTQ plus IA, or whatever it is, the alphabet soup. That purpose was worshiping Mother Earth, abortion, universal basic income. These people, the COVID vaccine, masks, these people worship anything because their life has no purpose or meaning. And every day they wake up, they try to give their life purpose and meaning. This is why these people worship the damnedest things. They'll worship anything. You guys remember the vaccine? These people were in a straight up cult. I remember reading articles and watching video clips of these people so hell bent on their ideological, just such in the coffers of the COVID vaccine that these people will go out and get 8, 9, 10, 15 boosters. Yeah, these people are nuts. These are the people that they still wear masks today. These are the people that wore a mask not because it kept them safe, but because they displayed a message on the front like BLM or DNC. They virtue signal with the mask. These people will worship anything, just like G.K. Chesterton. A man that doesn't believe in God, it's not that he doesn't believe in nothing, it's that he'll believe in anything. And that is exactly what is happening today. And so Donald Trump is right. All these things that these people did to this country is all because they cheated in 2020. And Donald Trump, I'm telling you, man, it is wild and crazy how this guy can deal with what he's dealing with. I'm telling you right now, I don't know how I would react with the government trying to put me in prison for 700 years, essentially sending me to my death. And not just the government, but the government colluding with the deep state establishment that's been in this country for the last 100 years. These people are some of the most powerful, unelected people in the world. These people literally start wars. Like, these people are powerful. They'll have you killed. They can have people assassinated. These deep state bureaucrats is like the stuff they make movies about. So these people are coming after Donald Trump. And not because he's a threat to us, not because he's given us cheap gas, not because he gave us peace and prosperity, but because he's a threat to their club, to their elite club that we're not invited to. These people have built this fourth branch of government, this corrupt little club that they're in, and they don't want to lose it. And Donald Trump is a threat to them, not to the American people. Everybody could see Donald Trump is not a threat to them. They've seen him. He's been president for 4 years, for God's sakes. If he was a fascist, then he would have used the pandemic to do some of the most fascistic stuff we've ever seen. Kind of like, using OSHA to mandate vaccines on people. Or, issuing eviction moratoriums, essentially taking government control over people's private property. Yeah, that was Biden. This is the problem we have, is that they're using the hatred for Donald Trump to cloak the people over the injustices and corruption of this fourth branch of government, this deep state bureaucracy, and all the things it's doing to remove and steamroll the guardrails in our government to get past our Constitution, to get past our Bill of Rights, to essentially control the whole damn country and eventually the whole damn world. We are dealing with the globalists. These are the globalists, the people of Davos, the World Economic Forum. That is who we're up against. The system. This is the people versus the system in 2024, not Republicans versus Democrats. And so in the coming months, listen to me, in the coming months, you're going to see race wars started. You're going to see COVID trying to make a comeback with vaccine mandates and mask mandates. You're going to start seeing mass division. They're going to try and divide the people, whether it's by race, whether it's by nationality, whatever it is. They are flooding the borders. To this day, and this is what we're going to be talking about on the next episode, so I'm getting ready to get off here because I got to work on this show. I got to do research for the next show, and this kind of went on longer than I thought. Way longer than I thought, actually. I cannot understand the benefit of having open borders. But why do the American people, why do these people on the left, these fascists, these Democrats, Why do these people want an open border? It's because Donald Trump wanted a closed border. Why do these people like war in Russia and Ukraine? Because they still believe Donald Trump is a Russian puppet. So everything these people do is because of Donald Trump. These people have been consumed by Donald Trump. Donald Trump lives in their minds 24/7, rent-free. They are in a cult, and cult members don't know they're in a cult until they're out of the cult. The only way we can do this is just like Donald Trump said. We need to secure our elections. These people are on the last and final obstacle, which is taking over our election systems. And they are really, really, really close. In 2020, they used the pandemic to get by some of the most egregious election laws. It never would have happened without the pandemic. These mass mail-in ballots, these automatic voter rolls when you register to get an ID. We have some states that are automatically registering their voters onto the voter rolls whenever they go to the DMV to get their driver's license. Now, the problem with that is some of these states are giving driver's licenses to illegal immigrants. This is what I'm talking about. This is how they're going to cheat. No one can sit there and tell me that the Democrats want open borders because of the kindness of their heart. No, they want open borders for a much more sinister reason. And that reason is to change the voter demographics in this country. They want to turn Texas blue. They want to turn Florida blue. They want to change the voter demographics in this country. That is the only motive that I can think of. These people do not care about illegal immigrants. They don't. They don't care about anything but keeping and gaining power. That is it. So I thought these were two good audio clips that I would play. Next episode, we are going to be talking about the disasters of the border, but everyone's going to be talking about that. I'm trying to get you guys into things that not a lot of people are talking about, but the border is certainly an issue. This continuing resolution, I think we're going to talk about tomorrow with Matt Gaetz and the Byron Donalds resolution, the CR bill. The whole fight is over a 30-day period. It's not like, it's kicking the can down the road for another year. It's 30 days. So whatever bill Byron Donalds is trying to get through, they're trying to make you sound like it's an 8% cut across the whole board. It's bogus. I'm with Matt Gaetz on this one. Shut the whole damn thing down. Shut it down. Shut it down. These people are they're so political, man. These people do not care. The only way these people care is if you take their money away. So I say, in the government shutdown, all the politicians lose their paychecks. And then see how many things get done in this country. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all for today. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. And if you guys want to ask me a question, get a hold of me, StephenTorrielloShow@gmail.com. I will post these. I will post this whole Iowa rally in my podcast description if it'll let me. But I will post it because there's copyright stuff. Sometimes it lets me, sometimes it don't. I haven't had any problems so far, but I will post this into the podcast description. Also, if you could share, follow the show, follow us on Rumble, follow us on YouTube. I'm trying to get the numbers up on Rumble so that I can get my own private URL so that in the case that YouTube wants to ban the channel, wants to block my channel, then we'll have a secondary place to go. Things are going to start getting real crazy here, folks. As the closer we get to the election, the more desperate these people are going to get. And so, and that brings me to my next point. I got some audio of Judge Joe Brown that I promise I'm going to play you tomorrow, and I'm going to play you in the next episode because it is really important that you hear the points of Judge Joe Brown. The guy is a legal genius, and I had no clue. But he makes some great points about all the indictments of Donald Trump being absolute crap, and he calls out the plan. He calls out exactly what we've been calling out, but he's got he mentioned some different laws which I verified and I confirmed, and they are true. And I haven't heard anybody take the point of Judge Joe Brown. And it's a very interesting point that he makes, and his attack angle is very unique, and I haven't heard anybody talking about it. So I promise I'm going to play you that on the next episode. So make sure you tune into that. It's going to be really great. We got a ton of stuff to talk about. So just make sure you tune in, follow the show, share the show with your friends and family. And as always, I want you guys to have a good day. Have a great week. God bless you, and God bless America. You guys have a good day. Bye-bye.